prime time on the top game, it's a fine line. Man in the match, that's Dave I. He's the main guy, keep a close eye. Make sure you don't make no wrong play, cause I'm with Jose and Andre. When Cyrus comes to walk in, you better know that you are watching Premier League. Dave I, tell him what time we on. Prime time. Let me hear you say Premier League. Dave I, tell him what time we on. Prime time.
Hello and welcome to Premier League Primetime Season 5, Episode 1. We're in a new season, people.
And you know Dave, I don't play.
Lovely. Lovely to see the lads.
What was the last? What are the last lines of the song?
What?
What are like the last lines of the song where it's like it was saying something Dave I don't like, not the Dave I don't play one, just saying something that you say. I don't hear it.
It's like Dave I tell me what time it is.
Yeah, tell you what time it is. Yeah. Gotcha.
Anyways, lads, how are we doing?
Good.
Of course, I'm
actually pretty good, Dave. Just the issue is my Wi-Fi is as shaky as you at the back, but we'll be okay. Hopefully, it's been disconnecting a lot, so hopefully I don't disconnect.
Great, lovely to see the reliability always there and ever present. But of course, we're here. Opening Season 5, and as per usual, as customary, transfer windows going on, but not like per usual, I guess you could say. It's been a rather quiet end around. It's been kind of an odd transfer window, to be honest with you. Taking a look at the summer transfer window, and we'll start off, of course, with Arsenal, as per usual. Serious thoughts on Arsenal's dealings and actions in the transfer window so far, signing Calafiori for 50 million from Bologna, Smith Rowe out the door. So far, thoughts on that?
Sorry. Good evening. So I would say that Calafiori is a great signing. 50 million. I feel like that's a pretty good deal. Had a decent preseason game. I think he's gonna, start either left back, if one of the center backs get injured, suspension, whatever, come in there. He's very versatile, young. I think that was a great signing. I think 50 million is honestly a bargain for him, and hopefully it will be. Emile Smith Rowe, it's pretty sad. Honestly, probably my favorite player, especially during that time 2 years ago. But he probably deserves a chance to start somewhere. Actually his first game for Fulham, he scored, so I think that was pretty great for him. I hope he does really well. And 35 million is actually pretty good. I felt like maybe if we sold him last year, though, it would have been more. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I know we're probably gonna get why am I forgetting his name? Marino?
Mikel Marino's been heavily linked.
We're probably gonna get him. So 28 years old is not on the older side, but he's good for like 3-4 years. So yeah, I think he's a decent player. Good goal against Germany in the World Cup. I mean the Euros. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Do you think that he's the right profile though to play alongside Declan Rice? Because for what I've heard just in and around when I've been talking to people about more about Mikel Merino, because I don't know every bit of info on him, they say he's more of not a number 6, but more of a number 8, and he can do the destroying job. He done it for Spain in the Euros, like you were saying. But do you think Arsenal should be looking at more of the profile of a 6, of a Partey-esque kind of signing, but obviously someone who is more available? What do you think?
I don't know. It just kind of depends. Like, I think we're actually going to keep Thomas Partey. So, and I think we have him, Jorginho, Rice. I think Marino is a decent signing. I also like that he's tall. I think height in the Premier League is actually kind of important sometimes, especially when your other two midfielders. I mean, not that Rice is small or anything, but I like that, and I think he's a good player. I think he is a good fit. I think he's a little different to what Jorginho is, which is, small, passer, technical. And then, maybe Partey's a little similar, but I think what Marino offers is, number one, more consistency in terms of injuries. And number two, he is, I think a better passer than Partey, and he can still do the things that Partey does. Because I honestly don't think we're gonna sell Partey. I think he's gonna stay. Just because really no club wants him. I think honestly, but I'm really okay with that. I think, while Rice and Odegaard will always be starting, it's good to have, three players who can really, impact the game well, and three players that have a lot of experience.
No, I think that's a good point. And to a certain extent, when you look at Manchester City, for example, we're going to move to now, they have plenty of, rather experienced players. But more specifically in their defense, they have players like Ake, they have Ruben Diaz, they have John Stones. Guardiola's now played a World Cup, many Euros. He's getting there, and quality and depth, as you're mentioning. And speaking of Manchester City, really similar to Arsenal, not much going on in regards to incomings. Savinho from Troyes was on loan at Girona last season, played very well for 35 million, bringing him in. But the Julian Alvarez deal out the door, 81 million pounds total package to Atletico Madrid. Thoughts on that so far? For their transfer business, I'll throw this to anyone.
It's gonna be a really big loss for them. I think he's a really versatile player, which is one of his greatest assets. I think he can really play at cam, at striker, at center forward, left wing, even right wing, even I think he can play at. So I think he's gonna be a really, really big loss for them. But they got 81 million, which is more than a fair price for sure. So I think that they can definitely sign at least one or even two or three players that could fill the gap that he's left.
No, definitely. And in regards to the profile of player that, they would probably look to bring in Julian Alvarez, who would be a good profile of footballer to come in and replace him as, the alternate striking position or backup behind Erling Haaland? Because surely, they're not going to sign someone, a seasoned, experienced out-and-out striker who's top of their game to come in and play second fiddle to Erling Haaland. So who do you think would be good for Man City to sign?
Yeah, well, I like that you said profile. I think profile, I would say Antoine Griezmann. Obviously not Antoine Griezmann, but someone who plays in that style, who's comfortable playing behind a nine, but can also hold the nine on their own if they'd like. So I think anyone similar to him, who's probably a little younger, maybe 24, 25, would be City's ideal replacement.
No, I definitely agree with that. I think someone like an Antoine Griezmann would be an ideal replacement. Someone like a João Felix, who we will most certainly talk about later on, would also be a similar profile, but also someone that would fit very well into that Manchester City system. Next, Liverpool, and they have literally signed absolutely no one. And if you're Liverpool, should you be concerned about this, as it rumors in the links with Zubamendi so far, reports that the deal with that is advancing and all of that. But however, looking on the other side of things, it's clear that the manager, new manager of Liverpool, doesn't rate Endo. He's been playing Bajcetic all season. I cannot pronounce that to save my life. At the 6, and he's injury prone anyways. So what kind of profile do you think would fit that number 6 position in that Liverpool? Because it's very clear that that's what they're trying to get. Andre, I'll throw this one to you.
Yeah, no, I think Zuby Zoo, where are you? He's the answer. You saw that guy talking. No, I mean, look, yeah, he hasn't rated Endo. I still think with the way Slot plays, and they've looked really progressive and pretty cohesive during preseason, and I just think he knows that he can take his time, and whoever he does end up signing, I think he's going to know exactly the profile to fit right into his midfield. So I do think if he does wind up with someone like Zubamendi, I know they've had links to his old love, Mats Wafer. I don't know how you pronounce that. I just think I don't know how much they need to strengthen. I think he's still feeling out his squad. He doesn't want to rush anything with all the young talent they do have. I don't think he wants to bring any players in that he's going to want out the door in the next window. or just soon in general. So I do think it's okay that he's taking his time. They've had a good preseason. But yeah, I think of Zubi and Zubamendi. I'll stop saying that. And Weifer, both good options.
No, I couldn't agree more with that. I think that either one of them would be very, very good, competent signings. And if it's something that Liverpool they definitely need reinforcements in that midfield position, in that number 6, and possibly at centre back as well. Konate, seemingly not really rated that much by Slot. Looking at his preseason's, selections, been playing Kwanzaa a lot more. So that's very well evident that could perhaps be an area that they look to strengthen as well. Next, Chelsea Football Club. And for those who somehow don't know, with the absolute madness that's been going on with Chelsea, with the Samuel Admorian deal now off, and the whole Conor Gallagher deal now being at risk. But for the time being, as of right now, unless if one of you wants to do an Ornstein Romano check, if there's any updates as of right now, it looks like he should still be an Atletico Madrid player. Rumors João Felix could be going back the other way. But taking a look at what they've done so far in the window, what do you make of it? What do you make of Chelsea's doing so far in the window? Kieran Dewsbury Hall, Mark Guiu, you have Philip Jorgensen, Tosin Adebayo on a free from Fulham, and of course the big signing Pedro Neto. Anyone?
Honestly, I'm just, I don't know. I'm not feeling too inspired by the signings they have made. I think Tosin will probably could slot in nicely and be a consistent starter for Chelsea if he plays his cards right. But Neto is just, it's another winger who's, very talented, but still probably not guaranteeing them the kind of just numbers that they're kind of looking for. It seems like a lot of their attacking talent is that, where it's kind of, they're a pleasure to watch on the pitch, but I don't know that they have someone who's going to guarantee them that, 15 goals a season or school contributions. So it'll take, and at the end of the day, it's just more cooks in the kitchen. It's just like, this attack is, you don't know who's going to play right now. It's so confusing. They have so many options everywhere, just a completely full squad. I think with Enzo Maresca there, who's still, I don't want to say an experienced manager, but him having to deal with he's got to be, how many players are in that training session? 60, 50?
Too many.
It's crazy. And I think they are going to have to minimize that squad, find just something more cohesive, a better, a better pecking order so the team can actually function and focus on the work. It just feels like a ton of individuals trying to, I don't know. I'm not a fan of the mentality going into the season. I haven't been too encouraged by their transfers. But who knows? I could be wrong. No,
and I think a good amount of Chelsea fans would agree with that, with just the entire mess that's going on. It seemed as that Conor Gallagher deal was done. He was going to Atletico Madrid and it was done. But now Chelsea are doing some shopping at Atletico Madrid to avoid this whole deal falling apart, which initially put the Julian Alvarez deal at risk. But I feel like the Gallagher and this whole deal with sending someone back the other way, which is the reason why I don't think Raheem Sterling's leaving. And I know Joe will be very, very happy, so he can, criticize Sterling some more, like links to Juventus, because if you were to go to Juventus, one of their high earners would have to go the other way, and that would almost certainly be Chiesa. Chiesa would go the other way, exchanging the two players that they don't really want, that clubs could make use of. That's how I see this personally. Others could have differing opinions from me. That's just how I see it. Next, Jose, our transfer window so far. Manchester United now. Looking at how the Ineos era has started this summer. The first signing brought in Joshua Zirkzee, 35 million total package. However, the payments are spread out, so it'll be roughly like 10 to 20 million, around that range per season, with a few bonuses and add-ons to Bologna. Lenny Yoro, 52 million pounds total package, which includes the bonuses and incentives. I think up front it was around 42 million pounds. All this rubbish of the media saying that we paid 60 something million euros up front. That's not true. It's the payment structure spread out over the course of several seasons. And of course, today, having just completed their medicals, Noussair Mazraoui, 17 million pounds, and Matthijs de Ligt, 42 million pounds, both from Bayern Munich. The Ajax gang are getting back together again. Jose, thoughts on this so far on our transfer dealings?
I mean, I'm very happy with it. I wasn't so happy with it a few days ago when we hadn't signed de Ligt and Mazraoui yet. I can't believe we've signed 2 center backs in one transfer window. It's unheard of. This is incredible stuff.
Definitely unheard of for us.
Yeah. But I think that I know you say de Ligt is injury prone. I know he's certainly had problems with injuries in the past few years, but hopefully he can stay fit for us. I would like that a lot. I also like to see that Yoro can stay fit. I think he's been unlucky so far to get
very
injured.
unlucky.
I think he's out until November, which is a shame. Would love to have seen him in the team a little earlier than that, but it is what it is. Lissandro and de Ligt will do. I'm excited to see Mazraoui. I rate him. I think he was quite good at Bayern. I'm not really sure why Bayern really wanted to sell these two, to be honest. But yeah, that's whatever. I think that Xerxes could be good, and I think that I'm pretty happy with it now.
No, yeah, and honestly, for the vast majority of this, all I look to Ineos is, can you improve us? And everyone knows what centre back I wanted. It was very unrealistic. Everyone knows I wanted Marc Guéhi, but we all know that there was absolutely no chance that we were going to spend over 60 million or around 60 million pounds and put the vast majority of it upfront to Crystal Palace. It wasn't going to happen. It wasn't happening. So looking at that, and I look at Matthijs de Ligt, and yes, you could say Juventus got rid of him. You could say Bayern Munich have gotten rid of him because he's been underwhelming, injury problems. But right now, we're looking just for improvements. And Lindelof looks to be out the door. Wan-Bissaka's out the door to West Ham. Varane's gone. Mason Greenwood's gone. And I think to myself, are Mazraoui and de Ligt upgrades on Wan-Bissaka and Lindelof? And the answer is they absolutely are in every way, shape, and form. They only improve us. Are they signings that I would have liked to see or my first choice? No, I wanted to see Kadioglu and Marc Guéhi. However, they are big-time improvements. And right now, we just need to improve from where we are. And I think under this regime, rumors are another midfielder coming in as well. And that would be very, very good because we need to strengthen that midfield as well.
Yeah, that would be probably the perfect window if we get a midfielder like a Ugarte at this point would be perfect.
And hopefully, if McTominay goes, whether it's to Fulham or somewhere else, we might have some money. However, if PSG are still demanding 60 million, there's absolutely no way, Ineos should pay that. And I'm glad they've walked away from like the Branthwaite deals and all that, because if this is the Glazers, they would have paid that money. And I'm glad they didn't. And of course, last of the top 6, Tottenham. Andre, over to you. Timo Werner, back again on loan from Leipzig. I know, Andre, you were buzzing about that when you saw the news of that. Archie Gray, 40 million pounds from Leeds. And of course, the big summer signing, the most expensive summer signing, that's how you know this window is just kind of a bit dead. Dominic Solanke, 65 million pounds total package from Bournemouth. Out the door, Emerson Royale, end of a beautiful era, 15 million pounds to AC Milan, and Højbjerg out the door for 12 million pounds to Marseille. Andre, thoughts on Tottenham's transfer dealings so far?
Yeah, definitely sad to see Emerson go, but I think at a big club like AC Milan, maybe he can, get into those conversations for Ballon d'Or.
Win a trophy as well, possibly.
Yeah, I think. No, I think he'll do great there. Glad to get him out the door. I think our outgoings have still been. I don't think it's been great. It's still not where we should be, but it's an absolute improvement on other windows. Outgoings have been a problem for Tottenham Hotspur for a long time. So it's still good to get some of the junk out the door. But the incomings, I think there have been a lot of conversations for strikers, but I didn't really understand some of the skepticism when Solanke came up. At the tail end of last season, I was on here kind of praising his performances. I used to be a huge Solanke hater, just his days at Liverpool and even Chelsea. I used to make fun of him his beginning days at Bournemouth, but this guy has been an absolute juggernaut these past few seasons. I think he's at the prime, like an important moment in his career, and I'd say he was probably maybe my second choice for striker. I really was happy when we were linked to him, so I'm pretty happy with that signing. Archie Gray, for me, the most impressive during preseason out of the entire squad. He's looked incredibly the sky's the limit for him. I think he has a great chance at cementing his spot in the starting 11 this season. Is my audio okay? Is it stopping?
No, yeah, it's all good. Who was your first choice striker, by the way? Because you said Solanke was your second choice. And breaking news from Romano, by the way. Serious, this one for you. Bournemouth have added Eddie Nketiah to their striking list after they missed out on Wahi from Lens. He went to Marseille, and after their bid for FC Porto's and Evanilson, I think I probably butchered that one as well. So potential that he's out the door as well. So that's one for Sirius's. Just a quick update. Emerson Royal, that signing was completed, and Liverpool looking at Marsh Medali, probably butchered that one as well, from Valencia. Just as a few updates. So interesting, very interesting. But who was your first choice striker, by the way?
I was excited by the prospect of Gyökeres, but he was overpriced, and at the end of the day, maybe Solanke is a better fit for the system with just the way he presses and his off-ball movements. I'm pretty happy with Solanke. I think I wouldn't be that happy with the window if we were done at this stage. However, all I've seen is, and continuously talking to the press, that we're still working actively for a winger, which he wasn't even doing at the beginning of the window. So it's really comforting to hear that we're ready to go all out for another winger and possibly even an attacking midfielder. And if we do those two, then I'm beyond happy. Hopefully get Lo Celso out the door. But yeah, I think if we cement two signings there, then I'm fairly confident going into the season. But I don't think our work is done. And I will also say, I think Calafiori to Arsenal is probably the deal I've been most jealous of for Arsenal doing in my entire life as a Rabble fan. I think he's a quality player, and I think they're really building something there.
No, yeah, definitely. And as per usual, Sirius goes MIA once again. Taking a look at the spending streets outside the top six, I think West Ham is something we have to look at genuinely, because what they've been doing and how much they are backing that the new manager Lopetegui, and how much, and I wouldn't say Enzo Maresca, the new Chelsea manager, has been backed with players that they want, but they're bringing in players that they think can fit his system. The directors Paul Winstanley, Joe Shields, they're bringing in players that they think that can fit that system. However, looking at West Ham, and how their dealings have been going on so far, Jose, what do you make of it?
Yeah, they've made some impressive signings. I remember seeing you send a post to the chat of them hijacking. I forget what other team was involved, but the Jean. I think it might have been Juventus.
Yes, I think it was Juventus.
Deal. Yeah. Which is a really, really good signing for them. I'd be really, really rate to Debo, and I wish we could have signed him ourselves actually. But they've had a great window, and I think Fulkrug is a great signing. I think he'll do quite well in the Premier League. He's a very, very physical player, so shouldn't have much trouble adapting to that side of the game. Wan-Bissaka, definitely always a solid right back. Can pull out crazy games every now and then when Neymar's playing against him. Mm-hmm. And then I think for expectations this season, I'd probably say Lopetegui should have everything he needs to challenge for the Europa League.
No, definitely. I think European football should be a must for West Ham. I think they're in the mix for the Europa League. Genuinely, when you look at their business, they run in Fulkrug, Somerville, Agudo Rodriguez.
I was actually going to ask you about Somerville. I don't know who Somerville is. What kind of player is he?
Crescencio Somerville from Leeds. He's a very, very good player, and I think that's someone that even though he primarily plays on the left hand side, but he's more. I wouldn't say he's he can play. He is a winger, but at the same time, he can also play the role as more of like an inverted 10. And I was saying that Crystal Palace, for example, with Olise out the door, if you moved Eze to the right hand side, because they're playing as inverted 10s. So at the end of the day, if it's on the right or left hand side, I mean, yes, it's preferable that if Eze's from the left, but you can play on the right as an inverted number 10. But however, I was thinking that if they brought in Somerville, that would be a very, very, very good signing for them.
He's got a lot of flair. That's why he's pretty versatile in that front three.
He's he might not have all the G&A in the world, but he's a very, very good footballer.
Dave, at the library, you told me you don't like him.
Cool.
I remember that.
Over the summer, Davis told me he didn't really like Nico Williams that much. I was like, what?
Look, he's a good player. Don't get me wrong. But I just think that the fundamentals.
But he's better than Rashford.
Need to grow a little bit.
But he's better than Rashford.
Well, yeah, almost anyone was better than
Rashford
last season.
And not
almost anyone was better than Rashford last season.
Rashford had a master class against Man City. He was so good. Oh wait. No, he wasn't.
I think seriously, I think Atusa's talking. You should go attend to her.
I'm actually using her phone because it's so laggy over here.
I don't know how that makes a difference with connection, but
overall though, it's just been surprising that West Ham has had this pull these last couple seasons. I mean, it's just some of their signings. I've been surprised that they'd consider West Ham.
The project that they're building is quite ambitious, you'd have to say. It looks like they have very, very big plans for Lopetegui, and they're heavily backing him. They should be getting European football, and rumors are they're looking to bring in another striker as well, and I think they're looking to bring in another fullback. I think another left back to cover Emerson as well. So they do, then that's very good on them. On top of already having the likes of Kudus, Bowen, Paquetá, if he's able to play. If that ban gets lifted, you have Edson Alvarez coming back from injury, Ward-Prowse, seasoned Premier League player. So things are looking very, very good for West Ham. And next, Aston Villa, looking at what they've done, not too much really so far, but thoughts on what they've done so far in the window.
I mean, got Onana, right? I mean, that's going to be
from Everton
for them.
50 million to replace Douglas Luiz.
Yeah, that's a good signing.
I'm thinking they've had some decent signings. I want to look up each one. I feel like they've been a little pretty active.
Ross Barkley on a free, Ian Maatson from Chelsea. They brought in Ealing Jr. as well as part of the deal. I think he was part of the deal for Douglas Luiz, and they brought in someone else. It was going to be McKennie, but then it wasn't because I think there's a disagreement with transfer fees or something along that line.
I think they had some good signings for sure. I actually really wanted Onana for Arsenal. I thought he's a decent player. Always plays good against Arsenal. I think it's a good signing. I think selling Douglas Luiz for a decent fee is good. While I rate him, I don't think he's like that big of a loss when you're getting Onana. And other players, Ross Barkley on a free. I think he had a good season last season. I think he's really rejuvenated his career a little bit. So I think it was good signings.
No, I agree, definitely. But I'd say the main issue with Onana is that as Jose mentioned it earlier, tremendously profile. And when I look at Douglas Luiz and Onana just as profiles, they're very, very different. Because Douglas Luiz, he's also almost a deep line playmaker in a sense that, yes, he does the roles as the number 6 very, very, very well. However, Onana doesn't doesn't really have the ability to. We haven't seen him really, take the ball, drive forward, and be a threat to the opposition goal, taking chances. Really, so they're different kind of players in the sense. I think someone like a João Paulinho who went to Bayern. I think if Aston Villa made a move for that, I think that would have been a more like for like replacement. But Onana's a good player. I think Emery's just going to have to change up the system a little bit, make some tweaks to the system. But I think overall, very, very decent window from Villa. I still think they need more. If they get João Felix, I think that would be so fun to watch him and Ollie Watkins and Leon Bailey. I think that would be really, really fun, especially with Diaby out the door after a very disappointing season to Saudi. I mean, they got 60 million for it, so you have to say it's fairly decent. Next, the transfer rumor. There have been quite a few players that have been rumored all window to leave. They could leave this window, or they could stay or next window. We're just going to do a bit of, are they going to stay or are they out the door? Starting with Ivan Toney. Once again, he's linked out the door. I think he's a year left on his contract. Still heavily linked with Arsenal. Still linked with Manchester United. Saudi clubs have come in for him as well, and offers from abroad. Do you think Ivan Toney will go, or do you think he'll stay at Brentford for at least another season?
I think he'll stay.
Fair enough. Anyone else have any thoughts on that?
Sorry, I was coughing. Which player?
Ivan Toney.
Oh, yeah, I do
Luis
think he'll
Arago.
stay. I feel like, I'm feeling like he'll stay.
Yeah, I
next.
just think if he's gonna go, he would have already been gone.
Yeah, took it out of my mouth right there.
I think that's a very good point as well. And I think he's only staying because they're £30 million signing some Brazilian striker. They bought him from Club Brugge, I think. Got injured. I think he's out for several months, and I think because of that, I think Brentford were just thinking, we may as well just keep Toney now if he's already here. We could definitely use him to stay up for another and survive another league season. Next, Aaron Ramsdale. Sirius, I'll go over to you for this one. Will he stay? Will he
Sorry,
go?
who?
Aaron Ramsdale. No, I asked. Aaron Ramsdale. Will he stay or go?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna who asked you, Dave. That's really immature. But I would probably say that he's gonna go, just because I think he wants playing time. I think he's not the number one position. Sorry, it's a little loud here. But yeah, I think he's definitely gonna go. It just depends, who buys him. I think Newcastle will link him. A bunch of teams will link him. I think if we just get a decent fee around 30, 35 million, I think that'd be good. But if he stays, he stays. I'm really happy with that. I think I still prefer him over Raya. So that's just my opinion, though.
No, that's fair. I mean, if they keep Ramsdale, they have a very decent backup option. However, there's money to be made, and if you can sell Aaron Ramsdale to Newcastle, for example, for 30 to 40 mil, you could probably recoup your money. I think also spent 32 million on him, maybe a little more than that. You could probably get around 30 million for Ramsdale, especially if they're looking at what's his name, James Trafford for 20 million. Surely, if James Trafford is, if they're going to bid 20 million for James Trafford, I think surely you can get Aaron Ramsdale for a little more than that. Next, Trent Alexander-Arnold. I'll go over to you for this one. I'm sure you've probably seen. I
think we'll go to Real Madrid next year. I think Real Madrid's business is done for the summer because Florentino acts early and he is decisive, and I think Trent is going to come next year on a free, actually, which would be lovely.
Of course, as per usual.
But
only be Perez to sign him on a free.
Yeah, but I think that he'll stay this year at Liverpool.
I've been hearing that he was leaning towards a new contract, potentially. However, I think he could leave on a free. Alphonso Davies could also leave on a free, which I genuinely wouldn't even be surprised if Real Madrid's, brand new left backs or brand new fullbacks just came in on free transfers for the future. I wouldn't even be surprised at that point. Next, I'll put these two in the same bracket. Romelu Lukaku and Victor Osimhen. As we know by now, Victor Osimhen as literally is on the peripherals at Napoli. Conte hasn't even bothered picking him for any of the preseason friendlies, for the Coppa Italia match that they had as well. The sporting director even said himself that he's looking to leave and that he's going to be trying to find himself out the door. Chelsea in a similar situation with Lukaku. Conte wants Lukaku at all costs, and it's been talking up an Osimhen Lukaku swaps. I'll throw this one out to anyone. Will this get done by the end of the window, or do you think one of them is going to stay and one of them is going to go? Predictions on that.
I don't know how Chelsea can possibly afford Austin. Like, they've bought so many different players. I know they had a new owner take over, but Lukaku and Osimhen are at different stages of their careers, and I see Lukaku going to Napoli, but I don't see Osimhen going. So I don't know how that's going to work. I see PSG maybe getting him or something.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about PSG. I don't know if that I remember hearing rumors about that deal, but I don't know if it ever got close or broke down. But I could totally see Osimhen going to PSG.
I think it did break down because I think similar to Chelsea, they don't want to meet that giant release clause because Napoli is saying he can only leave for that release clause, and Osimhen's wage demands have put Chelsea off. Until that fee can be lowered, which I think the reports that have been coming in over and over and over again, for that Chelsea would look at it, would do a deal only if it was a loan with like an obligation to buy or something like that. And if Osimhen lowered his wages and took a wage cut to his to fit Chelsea's wage structure, Osimhen right now is not willing to do that, and apparently until any changes occurring to any one of those variables that I mentioned, this won't appear to be happening. Next, these next two players I'll also throw in the same bracket. Although I will say for Youssouf Fofana, many reports that he's still keen on a move to AC Milan, that he has snubbed Manchester United in favor of Milan. I think that deal could very well get done happening. For that release clause of like 30 million euros, which is around 25 million pounds, it could very well get done. But Jose, Sofian Amrabat is still considered an option for us for midfield reinforcements. Do you think he will be returning to the Theater of Dreams next season? You're on mute.
It could well happen. It seems like a typical Man United emergency deadline day signing again. But I think that I really hope that we can get someone else, like Ugarte, for not that much money. But I can definitely see it happening if it comes down to the last day of the season. We don't have a midfielder yet, and he's available for cheap or for free, and we make it happen. Yeah, I could see it happening.
No, definitely. And I would say that Ineos would only take this measure because of the situation they've been put in for how badly we've been ran for the last 10, 15 odd years. Because, they're at the point now where we can't get rid of players like Maguire, like Lindelof, or we were able to get rid of Wan-Bissaka, like McTominay as well. They want to be paid off with their with the wages that they're making. And when I see that, it makes you think, okay, yeah, that's definitely reasonable of why we can't get our top targets. Anthony on almost, on almost 100 grand a week. As much as I love Sancho, as much as I love Jadon, around 150 to 200 grand a week when he was making around 50 to 60 at Dortmund. So, and with Jadon Sancho, right, as much as I love the player, if you're not going to use him at all, then what's the point of having him here? I love the player for footballing reasons, and I think if utilized properly, which we have seen in the past, we can make something of the player. But if you're not going to use it, let him go to PSG. Let him go,
Well, why do you
and
think we're not
try
going
and
to
make
use
a deal
him?
to Ugarte, if possible. What you were saying?
Why do you think we're not going to use him?
It's very clear to me that that Ten Hag did the exact same thing before the whole incident. He had played him in the false nine all preseason, played very well, was one of our best performers. Then come start of the season, didn't use him whatsoever. Brought him off the bench when Rashford was not performing and Garnacho wasn't performing. And the Community Shield, he brings him on for the last 8 minutes, doesn't start him, and starts Bruno up front. And I'm just seeing a repeat of this pattern, and it's very clear that he still doesn't see him as first choice. So to a certain extent, it's if you're not going to use Jadon Sancho, let him go, and we could try and use it as a negotiating chip with PSG because PSG want him for a deal for Ugarte or someone else. So if that's the case, let him go, and we can get someone like Ugarte. And until then, I think Sancho will stay. I don't think he goes, personally, but I think Amrabat could happen if we literally have no other option. Next, Mark Gahey. Newcastle, I think, submitted a third bid for him. Would have to be around the 65-70 million asking price. Do you think this deal gets done?
Yeah,
You think Mark Gahey goes?
I think Newcastle have been extraordinarily quiet this transfer window, and I think they're going to be desperate to get something done. And I think that he'd be a great signing for them. So I think it'll happen.
I'm signing Lloyd Kelly under free already. Very good, talented centre back from Bournemouth. Free transfer. They have Botman and they have Fabian Schär. Very good pairing, but suffered horrendous injuries. And I think the issue is if you bring Mark Gahey in, he starts. He starts, and everyone knows about Mark Gahey.
Starts over
He
Schär.
should be starting.
Starts over Schär next to Botman.
That's very fair, but looking at the partnership, I think it's a very good partnership. The two complement each other very well. I'm not saying that Gahey doesn't have the ability to complement Botman. Of course he does. He's a brilliant footballer. He's a very good centre back as well. But that would be something that Eddie Howe would also have to keep in mind and think about. Next, Scott McTominay. Jose, do you think we'll get rid of him by the end of the window?
We're stuck with him. Definitely.
And we'll leave on him free?
Maybe. Or we'll give him a new contract. Wouldn't be surprised.
And no, I wouldn't. I wouldn't be surprised either, but yeah, I hope he goes because McTominay needs to go. Martin Zubimendi, heavy links to Liverpool. Very heavy links to Liverpool. Andre, do you think this gets done?
I'll go with yes.
I'd go with yes as well. I don't know if he's physical enough for the Premier League. I think that he's an excellent ball playing midfielder.
He's a
excellent defensive midfielder. I just think I don't know if he's enough of a presence in the midfield to do very well in the Premier League, especially for Liverpool.
But I also think it's all about the systems as well, because as all of us have said so many times in the past, football now is very different than what it used to be. It's a systems game. So a player who, for example, I'll throw Jude Bellingham for example, underwhelming at the Euros, but you look at him with Real Madrid that last season, he was unbelievable. And I think the system around the player definitely has a huge impact on the way they perform. And I'm not saying Jude Bellingham is rubbish by any means, but I'm saying you look at him and place him in a different system, he's exposed. His deficiencies are exposed. Just to use that one as an example. And I think in Slot's very heavily based possession style of football, I think Zubimendi could very well thrive. I think he'd be a great fit for Arsenal. I think that would fit him to a T. Playing him alongside Declan Rice would be a very, very good thing for Arsenal. But yeah, it could happen. But I think it's a matter of convincing him as well, because apparently he's very happy at Sociedad and very happy in Spain. So, but I guess we'll see what happens.
He is also. I mean, the change at Liverpool is also, I mean, at least they'll play a double pivot, even if he's not that physical, whereas it's not as much pressure as the single pivot from Klopp. So maybe I feel like Slot could make it work. Maybe his wingers won't press as high. Maybe they can somehow crowd the middle of the pitch to help him out if Zubimendi's worth it. I don't know. I feel like the system changes at Liverpool could maybe they could maybe still leave room for Zubimendi.
No, yeah, that could very well be the case. I know we talked about this a bit earlier, but Mikel Moreno, seriously, I'll throw this one to you. Will the signing get done? Will that deal get done? Or
Yeah, I think it will. I think it's the reason he's posted it multiple times. I think he's been linked for a long time. I think it's going to happen.
Paris, and I think it's a fairly cheap deal to do. Around 30 million, I think, was apparently the price of the year left on his deal. That shouldn't be a fairly simple deal to get done. Federico Chiesa. Will he stay, or will he be stuck at Juventus, or will he find a new club?
Well, no, he's already out. Thiago Motta, I believe that's the coach, right?
Mm-hmm.
The new coach. He said that he's out, so he'd have to
Definitely
find
not
a new
that
club, whatever really happens. But he either finds a new club or he doesn't play, basically. So I think he's going to leave.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think, he has a year left on his deal, and they're trying to force him out. Next, Eddie Nketiah. Serious, will he go? Links to
Yeah, I
Bournemouth.
think he's gonna go. If we can get around 30 to 35 for him, that'd be great. Good replacement for Bournemouth. He's not a world class player. He's not a top 6 player, but he's definitely still a Premier League player, and he could play at a team like Bournemouth.
Yeah, I think that could very well work. I think Iraola could fit him into that system, but we're yet to see. João Felix, that's another one. Will he go? Links to Aston Villa and Chelsea, Barcelona as well. Jose, do you think he'll end up leaving Atletico? Apparently, they want around.
I think he'll go back to Chelsea.
All right, and last, we've been linked to Mario Hermoso, free transfer from Atletico Madrid. First, just do you think he'll find a club? And secondly, thoughts on the links to Mario Hermoso? Do you think he would make a good addition for us?
Well, if it's a free transfer, we should be all over that. It's a good player. We played again. I've watched him a lot for Atleti. He's always been solid. Never looked shaky at all to me. I think if he's a free signing, we should absolutely be all over that.
100%. And I would see the signing very similar to the Eriksen deal, but not putting him on ridiculous wages. If he's just there, if we we're able to get De Ligt, but if we can't get our other first choice signings, and even then, and I look at Hermoso, he's immediately in and around our top 4 center backs comfortably. Yes, we have Harry Maguire already, but he covers left back. He has played left back on numerous occasions, so he covers Luke Shaw. He covers Lissandra because Lissandra's injury prone, and it keeps Evans as in the 5th choice center back role, because really Evans should not be starting any games, even though he done well for what he was thrown into last season. He done well considering he's 36, 37. He shouldn't be starting for us at center back. Maybe the odd Europa League game, FA Cup, Carabao Cup games, but apart from that, you shouldn't be playing. And he would not be playing and not only surviving but thriving under a manager like Diego Simeone if he didn't have the mentality for it, because I think to a certain extent we need some bastard mentality in the side, and we don't really have it. A lot of these players are soft. And I think he would definitely bring a bit of that, and there's no downside to having that about you as a footballer. And I think he would be a very good signing. Whether we get this deal done, I think we're going to prioritize a midfielder first, and then maybe look at Hermoso again. But who knows? But I think he will find summer. Hopefully, he signs for us. Next, our season predictions for the Premier League. And first, who wins the league this season?
The Gunners.
Arsenal.
Man City.
Andre.
I'll be honest. I thought Arsenal's was last year. Like I know I said City, but I just thought that last year was their year. They've strengthened their squad really well, but Yeah, I'm still gonna have to go City. I just feel like I feel like they missed their shot. I think they'll be pretty impeccable, and I'm expecting almost like a similar season to that City Liverpool season. What was it? Finished on 97 points and didn't win.
Yeah.
I think Arsenal will come close to that. I think they're gonna have so much solidity, but I just think this City season they're
Quality in
gonna
depth.
explode. They're gonna do well.
No, definitely, and yeah, quality in depth, and that's why I will still lean towards Manchester City as well. I think Arsenal need further strengthening, and I think they need to bring in players that as I was talking with Cecil about this in the last show, and he very well saw what I was saying. It's very how Arteta has brought through as used the likes of the Martinellis, and he's brought in the Sambi Lokongas and the Fabio Vieiras, and that's all great, wonderful. But I think at this point now, they need top players in those positions. They need top players, and they don't have to be world beaters. They don't have to be best in the world, but if they brought in someone like a Zuba and a Tony or an Osimhen and a Nico Williams on the left, because I think you can upgrade from Martinelli. I'll be looking at that like, okay, wow, yeah, they need business. And just quality and depth in numerous positions. I think until that happens, I don't see how they'll get over the line. I'll stick with Manchester City, although that could very well change. Top four. What are you lot saying for top four?
Yeah, I can go. Arsenal, Man City, Liverpool, Tottenham.
Okay. Jose, Andre, what are you two thinking?
I think that it'll definitely be City, Arsenal, Man United. Just because I think that we've improved a lot of our weaknesses, and I don't think that a lot of other teams have improved very many of their weaknesses, or moved forward very significantly. And the fourth one's a bit weird. I'm tempted to say I want to say Aston Villa, but they're in the Champions League this year, so I'm gonna say Villa. I'm gonna say Villa in fourth.
Okay. Andre, what about you?
Yeah, same teams as Sirius, just different order. Yeah, I'm going City, Arsenal. I think we'll get third, and I think fourth could go to one of Liverpool or United. I think they'll be battling it out, but I just think Liverpool. I feel like United might have fourth for a good chunk of the season, but I think they might end up slipping away.
Very well possible, and I'd like to see what we do before the end of the window. I think Liverpool's in the same position as well to see if anyone else gets brought in. Next, just the other three European places: 2 Europa League, 1 Conference League. Who gets the other 3 European places? Sirius, I'll start with you.
Yeah, West Ham, Newcastle.
And who's the third?
West Ham, Newcastle, Aston Villa.
All right, fairs. Jose, what about you?
Liverpool, Spurs, Newcastle.
And Andre, what are you thinking?
It's a tough one. I think I'll go Newcastle, West Ham. We'll go Newcastle, West Ham, and Villa. Almost gave it to Chelsea, but
You haven't said United yet.
what? I said, I thought they were fifth. Oh, sorry. Then United 100%. Okay, sorry. Get rid of Newcastle. No Newcastle.
There's relegation. Who goes down?
Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to say the 3 teams that came up are going straight back down.
No, it's not that. So Ipswich, Southampton, and Leicester.
As much as I'm very excited to see Ipswich in the Premier League, I think they're going to go down.
Mm-hmm. Sirius, what do you think? Andre, what about you?
Yeah, I'm thinking Ipswich to go down as well, and then I think the other ones it could be. I feel like Leicester, Nottingham could be battling it out, and then Southampton. I just feel like I don't know what to expect from them this season. I even kind of am expecting Brighton to have a turbulent season. Whatever. American managers probably not had great record, and I don't think we've had an American manager finish and start a new season yet in the Prem. Yeah. Okay. Well, Ipswich, Leicester,
And okay, I would probably have to say I would unfortunately agree with most of that. Although I think with Leicester, I want to see how well Steve Cooper does. Although they could very well go back down. I also want to see who they end up bringing in the remainder of the window, because I've seen they've been strongly linked with Zaha and Hlocek from Leverkusen. If they bring in both of those players, those are two very good additions to the side.
If they bring in those players, then I'll put Nottingham to go down.
I think what I will say is I think that the two teams in the league currently that are that were in the league last year that are the most susceptible to going down, are Nottingham and Brighton. I agree with Andre.
Yeah,
Brighton
I'd say more Everton. I'd say even
Everton
though they have
were good
Dyche.
last season. Everton's position looked so much worse than it actually was last season.
Yeah, all the point reductions, and I think Leicester's up for a point deduction, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
Leicester.
yeah, they are.
Leicester's finished, bro. There's no if they get out of the league alive this season, it'd be an incredible achievement, I think.
Yeah, they could very well go down, but if they're able to bring in more players of quality, like I mentioned, if they somehow bring in Zaha in on loan, and they can sign the likes of Hlocek, two very, very good attackers with definite quality, I think they might be able to amount to something. But potentially, it's a possibility. Next, who's going to be our dark horse of this season?
I like West Ham. I think West Ham are in with the shot. I think it's Lopetegui's time to shine. I think he's a great manager, and he's kind of been in the dark for a while, and he'll emerge this season.
I think he needs to shine with the amount of backing that he's gotten, which rightfully so. He received none at Wolves, but he's definitely been back.
Yeah, but I have to say, there's a lot of. I mean, we say a good finish for West Ham this season would be a Europa League spot, but there's a lot of competition for that. Like Villa's around there, Newcastle's around there, Liverpool, Spurs, United.
No.
Could all be fighting for those positions.
Of course.
If West Ham managed to squeeze that out, I think that'd be really, really great achievement for them.
Yeah, or it could be Conference League. They could end up back in Conference League. I think if they Conference League should be.
Yeah, I think that'd be a good finish for them too. Yeah. I
think it's very realistic to say, you should be getting Conference League. I think that's it's somewhat realistic. It's very realistic.
Yeah, that's probably the goal I would set if I was the
Newcastle have, you take Gordon and you take Isak out that team, they don't have a lot going forward, really. They have a decent midfield with Guimaraes, but doesn't really provide a whole lot going forward. Same with Joe Linton, as decent as they are footballers. And if they don't significantly strengthen, I could easily see West Ham overtaking the likes of Newcastle for one of those spots easily. But Andre, what about you? Are you going West Ham as well?
West Ham feels like the obvious choice. Even just their players have a dark horse aura, don't they? With full crew again. I don't know. I think you have to go West Ham.
I think for just another option to say, if they're able to keep Gahey, I'd still throw Crystal Palace into the mix. I still would, because you look at that team. Apart from Olise is a huge loss. They brought in Ismail Yassar, who they're definitely not like to likes, and Olise's clear day in light clear of him as a footballer. Definitely not the same, but for this system. But they brought in Daichi Kamada, who's played under Glasner, was one of his most important and best players at Frankfurt in that run where they won the Europa League. And I think, we could very, very, very well see them maybe not challenge for a European spot. I think that's a bit early, especially if they don't bring in anyone else, but they can definitely finish higher up the table than they did, maybe in 8th.
I mean, how are we defining giant killer? Is it who can compete for European spots, or I kind of see it as like who's going to be the giant killer, like who's going to kind of what?
Like who's going to like defy expectations, and well
I would
exceed the
throw I would throw Bournemouth in there. I mean, I think they were fantastic last season with limited resources. I think that losing Solanke will probably lower a lot of people's opinions of where their position is going to be at the end of the season. But I think that Iraola is a great coach, and I think he's going to have them playing some good football, and I think that they'll probably be pretty comfortably mid-table again this season.
All right. Biggest disappointment. Who's going to disappoint the most?
As in a team?
Yes. With the expectations that we have of them.
I mean, I don't know what people's expectations for Liverpool are, but I mean, mine aren't high. I feel like people think that Liverpool could compete for the title this season, but I don't know if that's true. But I don't know.
Personally don't think so. But if this is a squad that they're going to the new season for, they're not competing for the title.
Yeah, I think that they're in a bit of trouble. But then again, I think people expect that, So I don't think that that's that big of a disappointment then. Who would I say? Maybe Newcastle.
Yeah,
because I think Newcastle have been hovering kind of around the top 4 for a while. And I think that they could drop off this season, maybe down to like 8th or 9th. I mean, I don't even remember where they finished last season, but they were certainly near the top 4 for a good amount of the season.
Andre, what about you?
I think that the 3 teams on my mind, I go Newcastle 2, and then I go Chelsea and Villa. Those are
That's exactly who I was going to say. I was going to say Aston Villa. I could very well see them doing
Villa had a good season
last season, because they got into the Champions League, and yes, they were very unfortunate with the group that they were literally put in the worst possible group, which they done all right. Which fair play. It was an absolute robbery what happened against PSG in that match in Paris. It was absolute robbery, but they got knocked out, and then they kind of just plummeted a little bit when it was not looking great. And then they were able to, make things a little bit better by the end, finishing in 8th. I believe they finished they finished in 7th. They finished in 7th, just behind Chelsea. We also finished behind Chelsea as well. But I think Villa could very well be in that same category. Although I will say it's Unai Emery, and I think, he has so much experience in these sort of competitions and just in general. So it could be different, but I think Villa's a decent shout. Newcastle's a decent shout. Chelsea, of course, is always a good shout.
Yeah, I want to talk about Chelsea just for a second, because normally I would have said Chelsea, and I think that they're going to finish like mid-table, like 11th type finish.
Again.
Yeah, but like that's not even like I'm expecting that, and I think a lot of people are probably expecting the same, because they're just such a mess always. I think Maresca is like, not to jump the gun a little, but I think Maresca is like probably one of the first up. Could be one of the first up for the sack, to be honest, this season.
No, it's possible, but
yeah, I think that they're just such a mess, and I think that they're going to finish really low in the table this season.
I mean, they had the options of Nagelsmann, they had the option of Nagelsmann, Luis Enrique, and Pochettino, and they handpicked Pochettino as the guy they wanted to move forward with, and that failed. And and I say when I said it myself, Pochettino rightfully sacked, but also at the same time, those directors should be getting their P45s as well. And they've handpicked Maresca as their next manager, and the directors, Paul and Stanley, Joe Shields, they're showing their incompetence in regards to the transfer window. They're showing there's pure evidence of the mess that they're putting themselves in regards to player recruitment. So unless if there's something like direct evidence of just in-game tactical management that's not great from Maresca, I think most sides are going to be on those sporting directors.
The board is just like they've had no balls. They're not innovative. It just feels like, okay, let's sign all these amazing young talents because that's what you're supposed to do, and then let's go copy the Arteta strategy and let's go get Enzo Maresca. It's like they keep just playing it safe instead of actually just, I don't know, shoot it. Just like at the beginning, they didn't want to stick with Tuchel. Let's go with someone more attacking. they went with Potter, despite I feel like they could have done more research, could have actually figured out if he was the right fit. It's just I don't know, but it feels like they're just doing what they're supposed to, and there's no actual real plan. There's no one really leading the charge. It's just a bunch of people who
For
are
me,
clueless and don't watch the game and doing what they're supposed to.
Mhm.
Well, what I think about Chelsea is like I feel like they literally think that they're playing a FIFA career mode where they can sign
No.
a bunch of
No, they are.
where they can sign a bunch of young players and put them in a training session and increase their attributes and then just have a full team of 99 rated players. Like I feel like that's what they think they're doing. It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
There's next biggest drop off from last season. A player and a club that we think are going to drop off this upcoming season. I have a couple in mind. I think Cole Palmer is going to drop off because now everyone has the expectation of him to constantly perform for Chelsea. Because there was really no expectation of him. We were just like, all right, cool. Let's see what this kid can do. And he finished, I think he only finished behind Haaland in the Golden Boot race. I think he finished second. Yes, you could say, he, most of those penalties, they were penalties, blah, blah, blah. He plays for Chelsea alongside what other proficient attackers is he playing alongside? No one. He's carrying that attack by himself. So he gets the penalties. He rightfully should be given the penalties anyways. I think he's got a lot more expectation on him. Like I mentioned earlier, I think Villa's another shout, again, to drop off. If Crystal Palace lose Gahey, possibly. Liverpool. Those are all decent shouts, all good shouts.
Yeah, I would say. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was going to say, in terms of position, I think that Chelsea could drop the most. I think that Brighton could drop a lot. And I think that, I think those two in terms of position. But I think in terms of quality of play, I think that Liverpool will probably drop off a lot because Liverpool were in the title race for most of last season. I think they'll be nowhere near that this season. I think they'll be around Europa League spots. So I think that in terms of how they're actually playing, I'd go Liverpool as the biggest drop off. And then player, I do kind of agree with you about Cole Palmer. I think that he's so expected now to carry this Chelsea team, and it's going to be very, very difficult for him to do that this season.
And it wouldn't be to his fault because everyone knows how brilliant of a footballer Cole Palmer is. He's an absolute baller, and he is one of the best attackers in the league, comfortably. Period. And with looking at any perspectives, GNA, footballing ability, talent wise, he's right up there with Phil Foden for me. So for me, I'd say it'll be less on him, but it'll be interesting to see after Chelsea signing Pedro Neto. Will he play on the left, and will Maresca somehow use one of Mudryk and Sterling? Will he play Neto on the left, which he has on many occasions for Wolves, and keep Palmer on the right? Will he play him in the number 10 position behind Jackson? We'll see what happens. Andre, what about you?
Well, I'm gonna go a different player, but I do think Cole Palmer is a great shout. It's just like I really do rate Cole Palmer, but it's just like he went through a period like this period last season where it's just like, and sometimes it happens as a footballer and an athlete in general, where it's just like everything you touch just turns to gold. And I think of that comeback, where was it the hat trick against you guys at the last minute, where even his shot, it's like
that match.
That was Cole Palmer last season. Everything he was touching was just turning to gold. And I'm not sure that's going to happen for all of this season, one. And two, you look at how many penalties he scored last season to get to the heights of, 20 plus goals or whatever he ended up finishing with. Mm-hmm. So I think he is a great shout for those two reasons. Like I feel like he'll still maybe hit like 15, like still he's going to do well, but to compete with Haaland, I'm not sure he'll be right there. But anyway, I think for club, I was thinking Brighton is the biggest drop off because they didn't look, I don't know, with the new manager, I feel like they could end up
very inexperienced. So I think he's only 31. He's very young. He's from Sao Paulo, who they won the second division in the Bundesliga or the second league in Germany, or the division below the Bundesliga. But this is what Brighton do though. This is what Tony Bloom does. He finds these managers from just random places that fit the identity of how Brighton want to play.
Yeah.
And I actually watched St. Pauli. I went to I was in Hamburg and then I watched and I saw St. Pauli play, and he definitely plays open, very very open possession style based football, very similar to De Zerbi, maybe not as gung ho as De Zerbi, but they're quite similar in a couple facets. So but yeah, that's a great shout.
And Joao Pedro is someone that excites me as someone who maybe could have a good season coming up. But
who do you think will drop off? The player that you think could drop off?
I'm actually going to go with James Madison. I feel like he got a lot of respect for the first half of his season last year. I think particularly in the bigger matches, you guys kind of saw how good he was. But this man's drop off has been ridiculous. I don't think he's been good. It's why I want another attacking midfielder. He hasn't even really performed well in preseason. So I feel like, we do the combined 11s. James Madison kind of consistently was a decent shout. I don't think he's going to be that this season. I think he's going to lose a lot of respect. I think he might get made fun of. He's going bald a little bit. I think, I don't know. I could see him becoming a bit of a banter player. I'm scared for James Madison right now. I'm hoping.
I think he's too comfortable. I think it's just a matter of competition, really. I think that's what he needs. And if there's someone who knows about competition, Luke Shaw for years, Jose and I will know all about that. When he's got competition, he morphs into like one of the best left backs in the league. But when he has no competition, he returns to Luke Shaw world. Yep, man. Yep, and gets injured. You know what's amazing? He went away to the Euros, didn't play at all except for he played 45 minutes of the first half of the final. He returns to Carrington. Of course, he doesn't go on tour. He has his extended holiday, whatnot. And he's injured, and he's unavailable. Luke Shaw, not bro. I'm sorry, but for Luke Shaw, for me, he's done. He's done. He's another one that needs to go. But he has like another 2-3 years left. Yes, I know. Yes, I know. Not that I don't believe in him, because as fundamentally as a footballer, I think Luke Shaw is a very, very, very good footballer. He's a very good footballer with the ball at his feet. However, his fitness is a huge issue. Huge issue. So I rate Luke Shaw as a player. I definitely still do rate him. However, his fitness is horrendous. His injury problems are horrendous. And I think it was very good that we brought in Mazraoui. He can play on both sides. But
how old is Shaw now?
Like 29, 28, 29. Yeah. And I just thought of another player that could have a drop off. And Jose, you might disagree with me, but for similar reasons to Cole Palmer, I think Kobbie Mainoo could also drop off. And as much as we love Kobbie Mainoo, it's a similar thing, the expectations now. Because now we've all seen how good he is. I think Ten Hag's going to start week in, week out. And we saw in the Euros, especially in the final, if you leave him there by himself, and many times last season, you leave him by himself, he's going to get exposed and he's going to drown. And in that final, he drowned with the likes of Rodri, Zubimendi, Fabian Ruiz, Dani Olmo. They drowned him. They suffocated him in the midfield. And because he was isolated by himself. Rice kind of left him for dead, and Jude did as well. And that's happened many times for Man United as well. And I think that might be another one that he might drop off. But what do you think?
Yeah, I would disagree. I don't think Mainoo is going to drop off. I think he's a class player, and I think that
of course he is.
Unlike Palmer, obviously, his game is not about scoring goals and getting assists. It's just about being a great midfielder who we can rely on to play the ball out from the back, to play as a defensive midfielder as well. Yeah, so I think that he'll be all right. I think that one player to be critical of my own club for a second is Højlund. Unfortunately, even though I love him so much, I think just historically in the past few years when we've had a striker and we brought in competition for the striker, it kind of damages his mentality, and he can start to doubt himself. Like we've seen it with Martial so many seasons, where he's been playing well and then he gets a partner and then he kind of drops off, he gets injured. And I hope it doesn't happen with Højlund, because I love Højlund, but I could very well see Xerxes coming in, maybe having a good few games, and Højlund not getting a game for a while. I mean, Højlund scored 10 goals last season in the Premier League. It could very well happen.
10. It was 5 goals in the first 25 games in the Premier League, and that for £72 million signing, that's unacceptable. You should not be going. You should not be scoring your first goal.
Sure, but
part of it's not his fault.
He still had a decent first year for a player playing such a
No,
terrible
and
signing as well.
yeah, no, he wasn't the only one.
I just think
However,
that he could very well go a long time without scoring a goal, and maybe end with the season with maybe 3 or 4 goals, which is unfortunate.
I was saying it for a while. Like, if you're not a player who's going to score goals all the time, do offer something else. And when I see Xerxes, he's very, very similar to Martial. However, I think he has more facets to his game than Martial does. He's definitely he's definitely a cold killer, 100%. I think he got Young Player of the Year in Serie A as well. Definitely reminds his presence alone, just his ability, his aerial ability, definitely reminds you a little bit of Zlatan in that sense. Has that bit of presence about it. I'm not saying he's anywhere near to that sort of stature yet, but he gives me Zlatan vibes a little bit. With his height, his ability to pull defenders away, playing off of him. He can play the ball out as well, and Højlund doesn't have those strengths. But we'll see what happens this upcoming season. And speaking of that, ones to watch. Players to watch this upcoming season could be, I don't know, could be 1 or 2 players. Players to watch for or to look at, seeing whether they have a good season, bad season. What do you guys think?
I'm gonna hype up my boy Dominic Szoboszlai. I think he's gonna be playing in a more advanced role at Liverpool. He's gonna be playing in that cam. I think that could bring the best out of him. I think Slot's a fan, so I think him playing in that advanced, literally more like a number 10 as opposed to under Klopp could be a much better fit for him. I feel like his actual stats might not be the best, but he'll be a joy to watch.
Jose, what about you?
Yeah, I like that take from Andre. When you asked me, Davis, who my favorite players were from outside Man United, one of them was Szoboszlai, and I think he's a really good player, and I think he could be really good in the new system for Liverpool. It's kind of obvious, but I would just say Haaland. I think that Haaland is. He scored 27 last season. I think he could score well over 40 this season in a Man City side. That's gonna be really, really dominant. So I'd just say I think he's gonna have another record-breaking season, to be honest.
Yeah, for me, I had a couple names. After just youngsters coming through, I think James McAtee's one to watch. Very good in preseason for Man City as well. Oscar Bob, those two in particular for the more youthful side, academy-wise, or things. And then a couple that I just had in mind, Eze and Matata. I want to see, because Matata's had a good preseason, or he almost won the Olympics. He had a very good Olympics.
Yeah, he did.
With France. He had a very good tail end of last season. Eze as well. Both of them, I'm definitely want to keep an eye out for. Smith Rowe, looks good in preseason for Fulham. Let's see how he does. But for me, the biggest one is Marcus Rashford. For me, this is do or die for him now. I think this is really his last chance. He's getting.
I agree.
And to a certain extent, Højlund maybe not the season, but the season after could very well be in that bracket as well. And Mason Mount falls into the same category as Rashford as well. It's do or die for them. They need to have good.
Mason Mount for me is he's not going to.
He should have never been signed in the first place. We know that, but we're good. No, yeah, I know. He should have never been signed in the first place. And I literally a year ago from today, you and I were both saying that, and look how that's turned out. And I think we can't get rid of them on the wages they're on. So we're thinking, okay, we'll at least give you another season. Rashford's his last chance, and we'll see what happens. So yeah, that's who I have to say. Golden Boot. Who wins the Golden Boot?
Haaland, easy for me.
Andre?
Yeah, Haaland. I do think Solanke could be not too far behind though. But yeah, Haaland.
Yeah. If Madison's in the form that he's currently in, I think absolutely not. If we're putting a second name in there, it's Mo Salah, because it's Mo Salah. Because
I think he drops off a little this season.
Even when he drops off, though, and we've seen when he's dropped off, he still ends up with at least around 20, GNA, 20 goals and 20 GNA in all competitions for a season, and he's always in and around that spot, anyways. Whether he's third or fourth.
I think Salah drops off to around 10 goals this season.
I think it's a very interesting thing. I don't think he will, because it's Mo Salah we're talking about. However, if he does drop off, I wouldn't be surprised, because he's just getting up there now in age, and that's it's definitely a good point to take. Next, the sack race. Who gets sacked first?
I said it earlier. I'm going to stick with Maresca. I think Maresca's in some big trouble.
Okay. Andre, what about you?
It's a tough one. Who do you got, Deva?
I have two names. Maresca could be one, potentially. I don't think so. But for me, Ten Hag is still there. It's still, for me, Ten Hag.
Bro.
And I'll explain why.
Give it
I'll
up.
explain why.
Give it up.
No, here's the thing. I'm not as big of an advocate as the Ten Hag, as I was last season for him to go. Because when I look at this transfer now, I'm very relaxed. Because Ineos, they actively said they were talking to other people. And everyone knows that. They didn't exactly give the biggest vote of confidence to this manager. They said, okay, cool. We're going to change the entire medical department. They did. They got rid of his whole coaching staff to bring in Rene and Ruud van Nistelrooy. If hearing a lot of the players, a lot of them talk about Ruud van Nistelrooy and his aura. Watching us very closely in preseason, I'm looking at Ruud. He seemed like he's the one that's giving instructions, really coaching these players. And I see Ten Hag just kind of just standing there, not really doing anything that he wants to do. But it is what it is. But and he got an offer from, I think it was Burnley for the job, and he turned it down to join us. And I feel like something's telling me, I'm not saying he's going to get the job full time, but I think, something was probably telling him, if something goes wrong this season and Ten Hag goes, he's in the wings to just take over in the meantime and just be part of the club, just moving forward to work with, whatever new manager that they would decide to bring in. And in addition to that, they said, all right, cool. We'll bring you Xerxes. He's Dutch. Cool. That's your guy. We've also brought you Lenny Yoro, a generational talent, what seems to be, who will be in the plans and will fit into any manager system. So, undeniable quality regardless of what system you play. We're going to give you Lenny Yoro. And on top of that, we're going to give you two more of your guys. We're going to give you De Ligt and we're going to give you Mazraoui. So he's got more of his Ajax players. He doesn't have the excuse of saying, I can't play Ajax football. Literally, a good amount of that back four are players that you like or your type. You have Onana, you have Lysandro, you have De Ligt, you have Mazraoui, some Molasses, Luke Shaw, and whatever, and other players that can play that left back position. So you have most of that back four that played for Ajax. So there's no excuses for him whatsoever in regards to not being able to play the Ajax style football. He's no excuses for me. And I think Ineos are kind of biding their time, and they're kind of just waiting for him to almost stack himself. And I'm comfortable just to wait, see what happens. Look, if we perform and we drastically improve and Ten Hag actually gets everything right, I'll hold my hands up and I'll say, all right, fair enough. Then Ineos done the right thing and Ten Hag's done right. But my gut's telling me that he won't. But we'll see what happens.
No, as much as I really hope Ten Hag stays, obviously, and does well, I can see where you're coming from about the Van Nistelrooy. I could definitely
That's what I was saying.
I could definitely see us getting unhappy with Ten Hag after a few bad games and just being like, I take it
after the season we had this past year.
Take it Ruud till the end of the season, and then we'll see how you do.
We literally had our worst Premier League season last year, and already having been backed with 450 million prior to the summer, and now totaling to be over 500 million by now. Like, you have no excuses whatsoever. You've been backed. This is your third season. Your minimum expectation is top four and another trophy. That's minimum expectations. You need to win a trophy again, whether it's Europa League. You also need to get top four, both. You need to finish inside the top four and win Europa League if that's what you do, or win another League Cup, Carabao Cup, finish inside the top four. Minimum expectations. Minimum. If he doesn't, he's gone, and he should be gone without any questions. Because Oli was sacked and he was in and around fifth minimum. So come on, like, there should be no excuse for him. But however, I think they're just going to wait for him to just almost sack himself with the decisions, with team selection, all that. But we'll see what happens. Player of the year and young player of the year.
Wait, real quick. If on United, if we're talking just solely individuals, which area of the pitch do you think is the strongest between defense, midfield, and attack?
Probably. It feels so weird to say this, but it's probably between. We have a lot of players in the attack, a lot of options, but a lot of options doesn't mean a lot of quality. We have a great number of options for our attack. Keyword number of options. Our defense has definitely improved with Delict and Masraoui, still Lissandro and Lenny Oro. Luke Shaw's injured again. Malacia, Diogo Dallo, and as well. If we get Hermoso, great. And you have Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans sharing a 4/5 choice center back. Decently strong defense, can definitely be improved. Hard to say between those two, but they both need improvements. So,
What about you, Joe?
Yeah, I would say as of now, defense. Just because of the new signings, I think Mazraoui, Delict, Yoro, Lissandro, Shaw, if he can stay fit, I guess. But I think if we sign Ugarte, then I think midfield becomes our strongest area, because then we have a midfield trio for me of Ugarte, Menu, and Bruno is fantastic. I think that's worthy of competing for the title. So I think that if we sign him, then definitely midfield. I think attack is by far our weakest area. I think that we have very few, if
we have
any.
very little quality in that attack. We have a great amount of options.
I
Like
mean,
Chelsea, we have a number of options, but not very good.
If Rashford turns up, which he could because he does that sometimes, then our attack could be in okay shape. But otherwise, it's like who we have: Antony, terrible. Sancho, Davis likes him, but I don't rate him. Like we have Xerxes and Højlund, who are both kind of still unproven in the Premier League, I would say. And then
Ahmad's our best attacker.
Maybe Palistri. Like I don't know.
Ahmad,
I don't rate Palistri at all. Ahmad is like he looked all right.
Ahmad's a very good footballer, and he's been turning up with goals as well and been impressing preseason.
We'll
he has
see.
to start.
This is the season for him to prove himself, I think.
I mean, I think he already, it's shown enough to be given the chances to play. And that was one thing I was so critical of him last season. How are you playing players like Bruno and Garnacho when they're not performing, and you have the likes of Ahmad and not even giving him a chance yet? And when he got a run of games, guess what? Surprised he performed. But we'll see what happens. Anyways, player of the year and young player of the year. Who are you guys saying?
Player of the year, I'm going Haaland.
Okay, young player of the year.
Young player of the year. I don't know. Let me think about it.
Davis, is your young player of the year Amad Diallo?
No.
Okay.
I'd probably say no. Colby, of course, is a shout. Colby will definitely be a shout. I think James McAtee could have a very good season. Oscar Bob. I think it's going to be between Oscar Bob and
I like Oscar Bob as a shout.
He's a very good player, man. He's a great player. For player of the year, could very well be Haaland. The Premier League probably will give it to him if he scores a ton of goals. But for me,
Rodri's a shout.
He has to be a shout. You took the words from my mouth. It's gonna be Rodri for me. Has to be. But Andre, who are you saying?
Player of the year, I'm gonna go Haaland as well. Young player of the year, I do think Oscar Rob's gonna have a tremendous season. I think this will be when he cements himself in the City team. The idea of Oscar Rob, Savio, and I don't know, this City team's gonna click this season. But I do want to give a shout to Archie Gray. I do think we'll do well, but I'll go Bob for it.
Okay, and last of the predictions before we do our weekly match day one predictions, before we run through those.
Oh, actually, I also want to say Dele Alli for the young player of the year. He recently posted an anime video of him.
So
I think that he's going to be. I think he's in for a 20-goal, 10-assist season for Everton.
Jesse Lingard's a great shout. So very, very young.
He is a good shout.
Very young prospect. Golden Glove. Last section before we move into match day one predictions and then end the show. What are you guys saying? Who wins Golden Glove?
I'm gonna go David Raya.
Okay, Andre, what about you?
Yeah, with that defense, I gotta go Raya.
Yeah, I'd probably lean towards. You have to say Raya. Looking at that defense, it's unbelievable.
It doesn't really have much to do with Raya at all, to be honest.
No, as a goalkeeper,
Agreed.
I think
I don't think he's that great, really. I don't think he's that great of a goalkeeper.
He suits their style, and he suits
their style. He's good on the ball. He's very much like Onana. I'd probably say he's better at the ball at his feet than Onana because And speaking of Onana, I really want him to like just not make us look even more stupid with what he's doing with the penalties. So I don't really have an issue with that because Emi Martinez does it all the time and gets praised. But like just situational awareness, like we've been rubbish for literally the entire season. Now's not the time to be doing that. I mean, it's good to be a bastard sometimes, but just, again, situational awareness. And some of these players have no awareness, none. And I was so critical of that last season. But we'll see what happens. Anyways, for our last section, match day 1 predictions. Look at the first few matches of the season. Man United and Fulham at Old Trafford, the first match of the new season. Predictions.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm going this weekend, so I'm very excited.
Oh, nice.
I'm gonna say 2-1 to United.
Okay, Andre, what about you?
I'm gonna go 3-1 to United.
Yeah, I think 2-1's a decent shout, honestly. 3-1 maybe is a bit of a stretch, but yeah, 2-1 I could possibly see. Ipswich hosting Liverpool. Now the thing is, we've seen this so many times before when newly promoted clubs have their opening day. A couple years ago, I think it was 3 seasons ago, Brentford hosted Arsenal. Everyone expected Arsenal, even though they weren't their best. You're thinking it's Brentford, and Brentford, played them off the park, and they won the atmosphere and all that. So maybe it's not such a straightforward game, or it could just be overthinking this completely, and people could be saying, "What are you on about?" What do you guys think?
No, I agree with you. 2-2 for me.
Andre, what about you?
Let's go 3-2. Let's go for a good game there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good game. I think it might be like a 3-2 or something.
3-2 Liverpool?
Maybe, yeah. I think Liverpool might edge it. I would love to see Ipswich win that game. Firstly, because, excuse my language, fuck Liverpool anyways. And secondly, just from a neutral perspective. So, if that happens, you get all the pluses in the world from it. Arsenal hosting Wolves.
3-0 Arsenal for me.
You know what? Wolves might go down, honestly.
No, but they have Gary
decent
O'Neill. I was thinking about that, but they have Gary O'Neill. He hasn't.
Yeah,
he's yet to have a bad season in the Premier League.
Yeah, they do have Gary O'Neill. However, they've lost Kilman and they've lost Pedro Neto, and they've yet to replace them. And when I looked at Lopetegui, yes, Gary O'Neill's done a better job with Wolves. However, if they're not replaced, I see them very much struggling. Very, very much. And I will throw them into especially if Leicester get in those quality footballers, I think they're in the same place as Wolves. I think Wolves could very well be in a relegation battle. Possibly. But I could be wrong. But also Wolves, what did you guys say?
3-0 Arsenal is what I said.
And Andre.
I'll go 1-0 Arsenal.
I'll go 4-0 Arsenal. I think this will be a routine match, genuinely. If Arsenal don't play this Wolves team off the park, then I don't know what to say. Everton hosting Brighton.
You go 2-0 Everton.
Okay. Andre.
I'm going to go 1-0 Everton.
I'm going to go 2-2. I think this might be an interesting game. Brighton have been looking very good in preseason for what I've seen so far. I think this might be a 2-2, maybe a 2-1 to Brighton or Everton. I think it might be in around that ballpark. Newcastle hosting Southampton.
I'd go 3-1 to Newcastle. I think it should be fairly routine for them.
Andre, what are you saying?
Let's go 2-1 Newcastle.
All right. I'm thinking 3-0 probably. That's probably what I'll probably go with. Nottingham Forest hosting Bournemouth.
I'd go Bournemouth win 2-1.
Andre, what are you saying?
I'm going to go 1-1.
All right. West Ham hosting Aston Villa. That's going to be a great.
Yeah, I think this will be a really good game. It just seems high scoring to me. I'm gonna go 3-3.
That's a great shout. It was a great shout. Andre, what are you saying?
Sorry, which match was this?
West Ham Villa. at West Ham.
I'll go similar. I'll go 2-2.
Okay. Brentford hosting Crystal Palace.
Just for me, just has draw all over it. I'd say 1-1.
Okay, Andre, what about you?
Let's go. Let's go 2-1 Palace.
Okay. Chelsea hosting Manchester City at Stamford Bridge.
This for me has to be. I just think it's gonna be 3-0 City, to be honest.
Could very well be 3-0 Man City. However, remembering that match last season, even though
Yeah, you never
it literally
know.
was Cole Palmer, Palmer that got them that point alone. I don't know. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah.
But yeah, it could very well just be routine for City. Andre.
I'm gonna go City 5, Chelsea 2.
I like that.
I like that as well. Just for the sake of just it being just interesting to any extent. Yeah, I like I said, it could be just a wild 4-4 game, just completely just wild and just obscene. But however, yeah, it could very well just be just routine day for Man City. It is opening day. Very strange things have happened. And the last match of match day 1 before we end the show, Leicester hosting Tottenham.
I'm gonna go 4-2 Tottenham.
Okay, and Andre, what about you?
I'd be happy if we got 4 in. That'd be great. I think I'm gonna go 2-1 to Tottenham.
All right, yeah, fair enough. And there you have it. There has been your opening day or opening for our season 5 of Premier League Primetime. And we have, I think it's safe to say I'm very proud of the growth that we have. We still, ways to go where we can still improve, we can get better. And I think, with the way we're going and the things that, we and I have planned in place, I think things can continue to get better and better and better and better for us. But let us know down in the comments below. What do you think of what we've had to say? Do you agree? Do you see what we're saying? Or do you think all of us are just chatting shit? Let us know. But we'll see you in the next one. Thank you so much for watching our upload. And let us know down in the comments below. What are your thoughts on anything and everything addressed in this feature of Premier League Primetime? Smash a like on the video and make sure you subscribe to our channel. And be sure to check out our other platforms on Instagram, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. And we hope you have an absolutely fantastic day/evening. Take care.